Something, 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 puppet penis.
Ha 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 ha.
There, now you don't have to see the Happytime murders. I saved you 15 bucks, everyone. Because that's all this movie is. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And I hated the audience I was sitting in.
Oh no.
Oh, this was a fun audience. Hey, so this is the post-Geekout reaction for the Happytime murders. She did not see this, so it's again just gonna kind of be my thoughts on this one. But oh my god, if you had seen this with me, you would have lost your shit, because you haven't even... I don't know, it's actually, I've come to realize you're kind of unexpected in comparison to me when it comes to our level of shit that we will take from the audience. Mm-hmm. And I was not having it with this audience, because this was like every negative, positive person you can find in an audience. By which I mean, there wasn't anybody being an asshole in the theater. Everyone was enjoying the movie. And you don't want to hate on someone for enjoying a movie. You don't. You don't want to be that guy who's like, why are you laughing at this? But like every annoying laugh you could imagine was in there. Like I had the guy who he stomped every time that he laughed, to the point where someone in his aisle had to tell him to shut up. I had the hyuk guy in there.
Yeah, Goofy in the audience.
Yep, I did. I had the Weezer in there. I had the donkey in there. Yeah. Oh man, just all of them in this theater, and they were driving me nuts because they were so active and so rowdy, and this movie doesn't deserve any of that. Like, it so does. Like, the only way that you can really find this movie funny is if you just find the idea of puppets having private parts to be humorous.
That sounds like the kind of audience that you were in. Is like, ha ha ha, penis.
There was one guy who had that exact laugh, by the way.
Oh no.
He laughed every time a new puppet popped up.
Hey, puppets, penis. I like penis and puppets.
Yeah, we also had a little kid in the audience, too.
Oh no!
But yes, what the fuck? This movie's rated R, you fucking idiots! God damn it!
Hey, there's puppets. That means it's okay to bring your kids.
God damn it, I hate parents like that. I hate them so much.
Oh no.
But yeah, there was one guy, literally every time that a new puppet popped up, he was I was like, no one said anything, a puppet just walked on screen. Like, anytime that they would do the effect of like having a puppet, like the full body of it just walking around, he would just lose his mind at that. Because just the image of a puppet was all he needed. And in all honesty, that dude is the target audience for this film. Mm-hmm. Because if you're going to laugh at just the sight of a puppet, this movie has puppets. Finger guns.
Like, to me, this movie felt like one of those like SNL skits, or like a series on Adult Swim that would parody Sesame Street. Like, oh, it's Sesame Street, but like with drugs and nudity and bad things. Kind of.
Apparently the script for this is like infamous, because it's one of those scripts that just got passed around Hollywood for like a decade.
Wow.
Just going around, and like no studio was really into it. Until finally it landed at Jim Henson Studios.
Oh no.
Yeah, my heart broke a little when I saw that. Which, by the way, man, I just said this thing got passed around from studio to studio and no one wanted to touch it. This movie wins the award this year for most production company logos that I have never seen before. This had 5 production company logos before it. I didn't recognize any of them.
It's like, oh, they're just the fingerprints on the script that kept passing around. It's like, oh, this guy...
No, it was all the little tiny guys who thought this was a good idea, and that's probably the reason they hadn't actually risen higher than being little tiny guys.
Oh.
Just all the little tiny companies were like, we kind of want in on this. Jim Henson might want to do it. Oh, we'll be a part of a Jim Henson thing. That's awesome, because Jim Henson was the only production company logo that I actually knew, but it was a different production company logo than we'd ever seen from Jim Henson. Like, it was like an angry Muppet face. I was like, is this just for this movie, or is the new Jim Henson trying to be more adult and raunchy? Because I ain't into that. Because remember, right before this, the Jim Henson studio did like that The Muppets show, which was supposed to be a parody of The Office, and it had stuff like Kermit the Frog is in a relationship with a hot new pig, and Miss Piggy has a problem with that, and Kermit the Frog says he's in his own personal hell, and I kept looking at that like, what the fuck are you doing to the Muppets? Like, this is, wow. I don't know if I'm okay with this, and it feels like watching this movie, they're doubling down on like, no, this is what Jim Henson Studios is about. And I was like, dude, you want to do some adult shit? Just do like a new Dark Crystal, or do a new Labyrinth or some shit.
Please.
Yeah, like I don't even mean do like a sequel to those things. I mean like, get some really weird, crazy wackadoo out there with an insane like fantasy story to tell that can only really be told with puppets. Go to that dude. He'll give you something special. There's like 20 of them out there in LA just bumming around looking for someone to pick up that script. But no, you had to go to like Avenue Q and shit, which Avenue Q is great. Avenue Q is wonderful. I've seen that thing in theaters. This ain't Avenue Q, and it so wants to be. By the way, I'm gonna go ahead and just jump ahead a little bit here and say, even though I'm being real negative on this thing, I didn't absolutely hate it. In fact, I didn't even really dislike it. It was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. But I mean, it's just kind of an assault of stuff that is not funny constantly. And I have to come in here and say right here at the top of the show, it's not, you know, I didn't dislike the thing, because I've done many post-Geekout reactions where I was like, yeah, I felt this way about it. But, you know, I didn't feel that way about it. And after ranting about it for half an hour, I was like, oh my god, I did totally feel this way about it. So I just want to let you guys know where I am right now, but we're about to go on a journey as I kind of relive this thing. And I might feel completely different by the time this is over with. But, so yeah, this thing, it was so bizarre because it's just one weird-ass production company logo after another. And that's kind of what this movie is. It's all the people who thought this dumb film was a good idea just all coming together. And it feels like because they were all little guys, nobody stepped in ever to say no. And I know a lot of people are like, well, you know, the artists should be allowed to do whatever they want.
To a certain extent.
That's great, but that also means you're going to come up with some crap. Like, you'll come up with truly genius, brilliant stuff when you allow the artists to do whatever they want. You will also come up with insane, stupid, horrible crap. And it feels like, as I was watching this movie, I kept thinking, man, if a really big production company had come in here, they would not have let half of this shit fly. And this film would have been so much better because of it. Because the people behind it would have had to have stopped and gone, man, we can't just stop and show puppet pubic hair. We might have to actually write a real joke into this scene. It's like, yeah, that's what some of these scenes could use. Some of these scenes definitely could have used just, oh, we actually wrote something in here. Because there's so many scenes in here. So many goddamn scenes. Where the joke is, hey, puppets are having sex. Okay, hey, a puppet is on drugs. Alright, fine.
You see, it's funny because it's a puppet that's doing those things.
Yeah, that's my that's my thing. If you are hearing this and you think that sounds fantastic, awesome, fine. This is a comedy. And comedy is subjective. Comedy and horror are the two most subjective forms of entertainment out there, because what's funny or scary to one person is not going to be funny or scary to another person, and it's all just based completely around our own personal experiences. You know, you look at like drama, or you look at like action, like, yeah, someone who finds one action scene really exciting will probably find, you know, another person will probably find it really exciting. One person who finds something dramatic, you know, we all find basically the same kind of stuff very dramatic, but when it comes to comedy, yeah, man, it's all over the place. So if you find puppets just, I don't know, talking about their junk funny, then okay, this film is for you. There you go, you got it. I don't. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I don't really like blue humor. And it's not because it's like, oh, it's so raunchy and crude and offensive. The reason I don't like blue humor is because so many people think, yeah, and the punchline is my dick. And I'm like, no, that's a setup. The punchline is what happens with the dick. And it's like, no, that's not, yeah. Like there's a scene in here in which a puppet in a skirt crosses her legs and you see like puppet pubes in there. And like, my audience was like, oh, yeah, oh. And I was just like, it's just fucking Puppet Pee-wee here. Who gives a shit? Why do any of you find this funny? Like, that was what I just kept thinking the entire time. Like, wow, your sense of humor is so not like mine. Like, there's a moment in which they go into, like, some guy's chop shop, and it's just loaded with puppets, and Melissa McCarthy is a human, and they're like, yeah, we don't treat humans in here. If you want to pass with us, you gotta snort this sugar. There's so much sugar in here, it can send a human into a diabetic coma. But if you do have puppet in you, like you say you do, then you'll be fine, and then you can pass. And she, like, snorts sugar using, like, a Twizzler stick to snort it up. And I was like, okay, the Twizzler stick has, you know, it's the straw and sugar and stuff, Coke. It's like, okay, that's an alright joke. I mean, there's a twist in there. All good jokes are a twist in some way. Jokes are taking your expectations of something and twisting it in a different direction. So it's like, oh, there's a twist in there, but I mean, aside from that, it's just a drug scene. That's all it is. I see these in tons of movies. My audience lost their mind at that scene. It's like, alright, fine. The audience is digging this thing. It's made specifically for them. So, I think there's another reason why I'm not that negative on this film. Because I saw that there's an audience that likes this, but man, you don't want to judge people you don't know. But if I had to, this audience was really dumb. Because there is a moment in, like, the third act of this film. I'm not going to spoil it. We do the spoiler stuff after all this. After I give my score at the end. There is a moment in the third act after our protagonist has been betrayed and sent to jail, and all these other people have been murdered, and he's been framed for the murder. And Melissa McCarthy has to go, and she has to find all this information. And she discovers the villain's secret den, and the villain's secret den is loaded with all the photos of everyone that they killed. And then she looks over, and she sees a photo of our protagonist, and it just says, die on there. 5 people in our audience went, like, audibly gasped, and I was like, we're in the third act of the movie. You watched 7 people die up to this scene, and then you watched our protagonist get blamed for it and sent to jail. You still didn't realize the villain had it in for our protagonist? You still, up to this point, thought our protagonist just somehow fell ass backwards into a bad situation? Again, it was like 5 people, and not together. It was like down there, behind me, way over there, way down to this side, like all over the place. And yeah, I just kept looking at it like, how the fuck is this a twist? How on earth? Like, again, I said I save all the spoiler stuff for after I give my score. I don't view the fact that the villain wants to hurt the protagonist in a detective film as a mystery. It was stunning to me that they were shocked by that. And there were so many other moments in here in which the audience was just shocked by something on screen. I was like, have you never seen a movie? Are you like that kid from Brigsby Bear and you just grew up watching the same one show your entire life? So, okay, I should probably actually talk about what this movie is about rather than just complain about the audience. Which, if anybody wants to come in here and say that, hey man, I think your opinion of the film is being negatively impacted by the audience, that's entirely possible. But at the same time, I think the audience might have helped, because if I had been in an audience that was stone cold silent throughout this entire film, I probably would have actually really disliked this movie. But I'm walking out of it, as I said, kind of being like, it's not good. It's not good, but I'm not fully hating it. And I think it is just because I was like, well, there is an audience for it. I guess. Fine. But man, am I not it. But yeah, basically what this film is about, it's a world where puppets and humans all live together, and puppets are discriminated against. They're like second-class citizens. And this follows a detective named Phil Phillips, And he used to be a cop. He used to be the only puppet cop in existence. But he got kicked off the force after his partner, played by Melissa McCarthy, was being held at gunpoint by a puppet. And he shot and he missed the puppet. And he's now like been blamed for this. They actually created a law called the Phillips Law that says that puppets cannot be on the force because puppets refuse to shoot other puppets. And man, Melissa McCarthy pops up in here as his old partner, and she is just the biggest bag of dicks. She is an absolute asshole to him. And it's to that point where it was next to impossible from the get-go for me to root for Melissa McCarthy in this film. Because she is such a piece of shit to him. And when you, like, look back at what happened between them and how they used to be, like, best friends, and they used to, like, be really close with each other, but it's because, like, he got that close to hitting the person that was holding the gun to her head. Like, it wasn't even like he was like, I can't shoot another puppet. He shot and just missed by, like, that much. She's just like, no, all puppets are terrible. I don't know why I'm doing that voice for Melissa. Like, all puppets are terrible. Fuck all puppets. Puppets can't be trusted. I mean, like, I am going, like, so light on the stuff that she is saying in here. And she's being so aggressive to this guy and just all puppets in general that I was like, wow, man, you'd be a dick on your own, but the fact that this movie just spent like the first like 10 minutes of it establishing that puppets are meant to be a metaphor for actual real people in our society, I can't help but look at your prejudices in here and look at you like you're just kind of a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they end up having to call Phil back onto the force as a consultant in a case because all these people who used to be members of a TV show called Happytime are getting murdered, including his brother, who used to be on the show. And one by one, they each start getting killed, and so he's forced to pair back up with Melissa McCarthy, which it raises several questions of, okay, yeah, bring him back on. He used to be on the force. The lieutenant still actually really likes him, has actually wanted to get the guy back into the office. So, okay, it makes sense why you would bring him back in here. Plus, like, his brother was on the case. He actually was at one of the locations where someone was murdered. Okay, all this makes absolute sense. But is there only one other cop on the force? Why are you pairing him up with the person who you know hates his guts? Not just his guts, but all puppet guts. But specifically him. It makes zero sense why they would pair him up with Melissa McCarthy in this film. Hey, dog's outside. But it is, from that point on, just kind of a series of them going from one place to the next, and then punchline. And this is made by the Jim Henson Studio. And it felt like, yeah, this is made by people who grew up knowing how to make sketch comedy and not like a long-form movie. Because they do just go from one place to the next, and it's like, now we're in this place. Here's the gag for this place. Scene. Now we're in this place. Here's the gag for this place. Scene. Yeah, it doesn't actually quite feel like a real movie to me. It kind of just feels like a series of gags.
Yeah, it's like, I felt like this should have been like an SNL skit or like a TV series on
If you
Adult
took this
Swim.
and boiled it down to like how long are SNL skits? Like 8 minutes or something? Like 5 to 8 minutes? Yeah, you boil this down to a 5 to 8 minute long SNL skit? Yeah, there's something good in here. You could actually make that pretty funny. And also, you know, hey, 5 to 8 minutes talking about puppet dicks. You know, alright, fine, whatever, I can deal with that. But man, an hour and a half talking about puppet dicks with no clear direction and just kind of just going like, well, now we're gonna go and interview this person. Something happens. Scene. Now we're gonna go and talk to this person. Melissa McCarthy is addicted to sugar because she actually has a puppet liver inside of her. That is the only like small spoiler I will give in here, but they tell you that pretty early on in the film. But it is kind of important, I do have to bring it up, because yes, in this world, sugar is a drug to puppets. So Melissa McCarthy has a massive sugar addiction. And she is just constantly, like, her fridge is just loaded with maple syrup. And it's like, okay, that's not that bad of a gag. It's like, okay, instead of beer, it's maple syrup because she's like the washed up cop who's an alcoholic now, but because she's got the puppet liver, she's drinking maple syrup. Alright, I understand how the gag goes. But yeah, that's like the most this movie ever got out of me. Was just going, okay, that's not bad. Like, that is the most it's ever got out of me. And again, if I'd been watching this in total silence, I probably would have just been enraged by it. But the fact that my audience was loving it so much kind of dimmed that down to just being eye rolls throughout this entire time. Because you'll notice I'm not really going into a lot of other details about this plot. There aren't any. I mean, at one point in time, as I said, our lead protagonist gets framed for this murder, and now he goes on the run, and he's got to start working with Melissa McCarthy because she's the only one who can trust him. But it's like, no, you can't. You two don't trust each other. You didn't trust each other in the scene right before this one. Why do you trust each other now? That's the other thing about this film. It does kind of feel like each scene was almost written by different people. Because in one scene, they'll be like, oh, we hate each other. We hate each other so much. Oh, well, okay, I guess we'll work together on this case. Now we trust each other and we got each other's backs. I mean, it goes in like 3 scenes through that entire progression. So yeah, that's just kind of how this movie is. It's not really even a movie. It's just kind of a series of events that are an excuse to have gags in there. And I didn't enjoy the gags in there. So listen, there are tons of other movies out there, like just pulling one out at random. Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. I love that movie. I think that movie is hilarious. It's also just an excuse to go from one scene to another to have a gag in every single scene. I like the gags in that movie. So I can't really like critique this film that much for just having poor story structure, because if you enjoy the gags, they're going to work for you. But as I said, so many of these gags are just nothing but I'm a puppet and I like to have sex. Alright. Like, one of the gags in here is that someone is being blackmailed who tries to hire the puppet detective. And she says, oh, they're trying to blackmail me because I'm a sex ima. What's a sex ima? If I'm a next to something, I'm gonna fuck it. That's the best you could do? Ima? That's the best you could do? I'm a gonna fuck it? What? Like, you can't even like come up with like an abbreviation, like if, like, so in IIA, like something like that. Yeah. And it's like, no, it's just like Ima. Wow, you guys actually thought that was funny, huh? Okay, you did you like focus group that or anything? I don't, not that I'm saying like focus groups hold all the answers, but I feel like if you had shown that to a group of people, like, maybe they showed it to my group of people. Because my group of people laughed hysterically at that. But again, my group of people, I don't know if they're the majority of people, because I was looking this up right before we recorded. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 26 from the audience. I'm sorry, it's got 26 from the critics, but from the audience, it's got like a 48. Which, in all fairness, there is now a massive group of people out there who have dedicated themselves to just going on Rotten Tomatoes and hitting the downvote. Like, that's actually like a movement that's happening, and Rotten Tomatoes is actually saying, yeah, we might just get rid of that audience score because y'all be trolling, and if you're going to wreck this for everyone, then no one gets to use it. And honestly, I can't really blame them on that. Yeah. But IMDb has like, the audience score is like a 5.1, and it's like, wow, no one cares about the audience score on IMDb. So it was just kind of stunning to me that, wow, yeah, a lot of people out there just don't give a shit. Like, my audience really was the rarity. My audience kind of was the exception to the rule. So, yeah, it's so bizarre because I do look at this and it's like, if you just want to hear about puppet dicks, then sure. But it's, again, it's not even like they're framing the gags well. It's not like puppet dick is a setup for something. It's like, at one point the detective gets into a fight with Melissa McCarthy, and she just picks him up and bites his dick. And he goes, "You're biting my dick!" I was like, okay. She bit his dick. That was the gag. all right, fine. That was what my reaction was this entire time. Like, it wasn't like I was going, oh my god, this is so stupid. I was just like, all right, that happened. We're on to the next thing now. Fine, okay. Like, honestly, all the jokes in here feel like there's nothing special about them. Mm-hmm. There's nothing, I'm trying to remember some of the really good jokes in here. Well, okay, hold on, there were none. I'm trying to remember any of the really stand-out jokes in here. And yeah, they really weren't. Like, I just watched this thing, and I'm already, like, just deleting it from my mind. Like, the jokes in here are so basic. They literally do the asshole says what? What? Like, they do that joke twice in this movie. And they hold on it, too. And it's one
like, it'd be one thing if that was, like, a running gag, because, you know, like, the rule of threes and everything, but, like, that's not what they were going for.
No, yeah, it's just there. Okay. But, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we all know asshole says what? We've all heard that. Everybody's heard that. But they put it in here like it's the funniest goddamn thing. And to their credit, my audience thought was the funniest goddamn thing. So, yeah, I just look at that and like, there's nothing special about that. And that's kind of what all the jokes were in here. It's like, anybody could have written this. It really feels like someone just said, I have an idea for comedy where it's puppets doing dirty jokes. And that's as far as they went with it. And they didn't bother to really craft any special dirty jokes. Mm-hmm. It was just, as long as a puppet says this, it's funny. The only okay, there was actually one joke in here that was kind of a running gag, where the puppets kept confusing Melissa McCarthy for being a man. There's like 2 or 3 jokes in here about that, and it was like, okay, that's actually kind of alright, and a lot of it was because of Melissa McCarthy's reaction to it. Because they would say something, she would like see like a hooker who'd be like, hey big fella, wanna come to my place? I'll suck your dick. And she was like, well, if I had a dick to suck, that'd be a pretty good offer, but I'm a woman. Oh, well, okay, that's not like the puppets would take a second and be like, no, you're not. Oh, okay, well, if you say so. And it's like, yeah, okay, so the fact that she doesn't like get mad about it or like start screaming about it or anything, like the fact that Mrs. McCarthy had just a very straight face to it made me just go, okay, yeah, that's actually okay. But again, that's like the best I got. Like, I am just racking my brain right now to go, no, I gotta say like one joke that actually made me laugh. Yeah, there really weren't like any at all. I will say Maya Rudolph is in here as the detective's secretary. Mm-hmm. She's actually pretty darn good in here. I actually did really like her. And I'll also say all the puppet stuff is good here. Like, the puppets actually are very well designed. It is Jim Henson Studios. They know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And this thing ends when the credits start rolling. It ends with the puppets singing We Want Candy. Which, okay, because the candies are a drug. Okay, sugar is a drug, I get. But, yeah, it was really just kind of bizarre that that's how they decided to end it. But as they're singing it, they also showed montages of the behind-the-scenes stuff, of like how all the puppet stuff actually worked in here. That was really fascinating to me. And it made me really appreciate all the work that did go into this film.
Yeah, I've always, like, no matter how shitty something is, like, I always give praise to practical effects, no matter how crappy it might seem, because there is so much work put into it.
Absolutely. Yes, like, the best part of this film is the little musical number at the end, because getting to see all the effects that went on with this was really damn impressive. I actually was really pleased with this. But that's all I got. The best thing about this film is the credits. That's what I can really say about the film. Yeah, I got nothing else on this. And you guys can probably tell I am struggling to stretch this review out. Because I don't want to just come in here and go, it's a bunch of really bad jokes, but they're not that bad where I wanted to leave the theater. I could sit through it, but I didn't really want to. That's it. That's my entire review. There's no real direction to this film. It's just jokes, and not that good.
So, what's your final score then?
I'll give it a 4. It's knocking on like a 3.5's door, but that's the thing. When you go below 5, it is a it's like an exponential curve down. It's not like a steady decline. It is. So yeah, the distance from 5 to 4 is pretty big, but the distance from 4 to 3 is massive. And then from 3 to 2 is from here to the moon. Like, it just keeps going and going and going. So, yeah, I'll give it a 4. But man, if I had got up and left the second that musical number had started and I hadn't seen those special effects, yeah, it'd be a 3.5. That was the one thing that bumped up to a 4. So yeah, it's not good, but I was able to sit through it. I was able to deal with it. But man, I can't wait till Melissa McCarthy's next film because it's an actual serious drama, and I can't wait to see her act again because she is just playing the same. Like, I looked at this and I was like, okay, it's an R-rated cop thing. That's very different from anything she's done, and she's just playing Melissa McCarthy again. Just slightly more dickish. That's all she's doing in here. It's like when Adam Sandler just plays the exact same character, but with a slightly different accent in every single film. It's like, no, man, I've seen this before, and I didn't like it the last time either. And yeah, I'm just saying, it's like, man, this is exactly her character from Life of the Party, just angrier. That's it. So yeah, I was not pleased with this. And man, she is like the leading star in this, and you would like to come in here and go, well, all the positive things in this film have to do with the leading star. It really doesn't, and I kept looking at this film thinking, well, there's no way that she can improv all of her lines again, because she loves to improv, and she's so bad at it. I hate being mean. It's not like I can improv. I'm terrible at it. If you can improv, that is an art form there. But Melissa McCarthy's form of improving is just keep talking and we'll keep all of it in the movie. Which, granted, a lot of that has to do with the editors and the directors not telling her to stop. But yeah, her improving in movies is she just keeps talking and talking and talking, and like someone digging for gold. Like, if I just keep digging, I'm gonna hit something. It's like, no, dude, you just hit like the electrical lines for the entire city and now there's a blackout. Like, stop doing this. But she just keeps going, and she doesn't go as long as she has in her past couple films because, yeah, man, we've got puppets and we've got like 50 people working on one puppet right now. They gotta take a lunch break. And also some of these puppets are on tracks, and you can't walk over there and go over the tracks, man. She was a little bit restrained compared to her previous films, but yeah, there's still so much improv from her in this movie, and none of it's good. I didn't enjoy any of it. So yeah, I'm sticking with the 4, but man, it's only because once you go into 3, it gets so much worse. And what, I gave Slender Man a 2, didn't I?
I think you might have.
No, I gave like a 1.5. Like, it got that low. And yeah, that's kind of in my head right now. It's like, okay, if 5 is whatever, I didn't care one way or another about this thing. And 1.5 is Slender Man. It's like, okay, that's in China. It's so far down. And if a 5 is here, it's like, okay, that means 4 is like here. That's where this film is. So yeah, that's about it. I'm not even gonna go into spoilers in this thing because I'll be totally honest with you guys. Again, I was just flabbergasted by my audience. The fact that my audience was so shocked at every twist in this movie. Because if you can watch this halfway through and not automatically know everything that's happening in this movie, I don't know what to tell you, brother. Yeah, I'm not doing spoiler talk on this one because this movie doesn't deserve spoiler talk. There's nothing to spoil in this. It's so goddamn obvious, everything that's going to happen. So, yeah, all right, that's it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Come back next week when nothing comes out. The Stranger Things guys have like a fun-looking sci-fi film coming out next week. That's like it. That's all we got. I might next week go and see that Disappear, whatever that Untraceable, whatever the John Cho film is that came out this weekend. That's getting great reviews, so I might go and see that next weekend. But anyway, come back next weekend. Bye.
Bye.